Back in December, we planned a trip to go to Quebec after I officially finished my PhD, and so we ended up driving to visit some family initially in Toronto, which would just be a little bit easier. So we stopped by my aunt's house, saw their cat. We were laughing at how much more tan I am than my boyfriend, and so the next day we visited my grandpa and we took him out for lunch at the local pub that I've been going to since I was a kid. Fun fact, this is where they filmed the pilot episode of Gilmore Girls. And so that night we went to the city and stayed at the Royal York, and it was cool. They had this book signed by the Queen and Prince Philip when they stayed back in the early 2000s, which I thought was neat. We took the train up to Montreal from Toronto, and obviously the first thing we did that evening was get some poutine, and it was delicious. This one you could make your own, which was fun. And then our first full day we explored along the riverfront, which we got very lucky with the weather. It just rained on our train ride up, and we just did some exploring in the old city, and we're enjoying the views. It's just the city has such unique architecture that it was just a lot of fun to explore and just look around at all the different little fun things here as well. We kind of meandered our way into the old city, or old part of Montreal, which is where they do have more of the fun European styled buildings. And while we were here, we went to the Museum of Archaeology, which was really a lot of fun because it had like the old foundations of the city underneath that you could go and explore. And then we explored more of old Montreal. As you can see here, here's the Basilica. We just did some more walking around. Just the weather was beautiful. I think that day we walked about like 7 miles, which is a lot, and we ended up getting engaged that night, which was really exciting. So this trip was really special for us. We did some more exploring throughout the day. We were here for 5 days. We did a food tour as well, where we got to try the famous Montreal bagel. And the food here, if you're a big foodie, this is a great city for you to visit. We went to so many tremendous restaurants in the food tour in particular. This was a speakeasy that we went to that doesn't have a menu, but they make you specific drinks based on what you like. We didn't want to eat too much after the food tour, so we did some ramen, which was very good as well. It had this very cool architecture on the inside. The vibes of this city are just off the wall. And the hotel we were staying at is Le Mont Steven, which had this restaurant that was packed with locals all the time. So we had breakfast there, and we got the smoked salmon on a Montreal bagel, and it was delicious. Like, I dream about this. And later that day we stopped by a cafe, and I ended up getting some crepes, and my fiance got this fancy bubble waffle concoction, which was a lot of fun. But this trip was just a special time. It was so memorable, probably the happiest week of my life. We finished out our time in Montreal with a hearty bowl of pasta before we boarded on the train to head to Quebec City.